ABC, this is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Good evening. It has now become a truly international incident. In Louisiana tonight, two officials from Senator Jesse Helms' office are doing their darndest to get a Soviet sailor off a Soviet ship just one more time. This evening, a subpoena for Miroslav Medved to appear before Senator Helms' Agriculture Committee was handed to the Soviet captain of the ship. The State Department, as if to reaffirm its original judgment that Medved did really want to go home, has released the findings of a psychiatrist who examined the sailor when he was off the ship the last time. We begin in Louisiana with ABC's Mark Potter.
The first to arrive today at the freighter Marshal Konev was the second secretary for the Soviet embassy in Washington. Last night, the ship's captain refused to accept the Senate committee's subpoena for Seaman Medved until the Soviet diplomat was present. Later this afternoon, two U.S. Senate staffers arrived, once again carrying the subpoena. With them, to help identify Medved, were two local men who first found him after he jumped ship 2 weeks ago. The staffers also brought along Ukrainian and Russian interpreters. The American contingent was met at the ship's gangplank by the Soviet embassy official. The Americans were not allowed aboard the Marshal Konev. Instead, they and the Soviets went across the street to meet in the offices of the grain company that is supplying the Soviet freighter. The Agriculture Committee is asking that Seaman Medved appear before them in Washington Tuesday. The committee members want Medved to have one more opportunity to say whether he wants to stay in the United States or return to the Soviet Union. They fear he may be aboard the Soviet freighter against his will. While both sides were talking, Ukrainian-American demonstrators shouted slogans at them and at the Marshal Konev.
Your ship, the Marshal Konev, will not leave.
As much as anything else, their protests and lobbying efforts have led to Medved's support in the Senate. Just a few minutes ago, the meeting ended. The Senate staffers say they never saw Medved, but they delivered the subpoena to the Soviet captain. Mark Potter, ABC News, Reserve, Louisiana.
This is Sam Donaldson. The subpoena serving late today takes President Reagan somewhat off the hook in the Medved case. Mr. Reagan's official position all day, as it had been in past days, was that the case was closed. We have discharged our responsibilities, said Press Secretary Larry Speakes. But the president has been under increasing and uncomfortable political pressure to do something. He told Republican leaders this morning he was concerned.
I got the feeling he is deeply concerned about this whole matter. In other words, and my personal feeling, I think the way this thing has been handled smells to high heaven.
I know he resented the characterization, well, maybe we just threw this guy to the wolves.
Yeah, that's right.
As we're getting ready for Geneva. He did mention that specifically, but that was not the case. And,
muddying the waters further were the tantalizing findings of the chief U.S. psychiatrist who examined Medved. The psychiatrist found Medved to be an immature 25-year-old who made an impulsive decision to jump ship, grabbing for the glitter and gusto in the psychiatrist's words, rather than a decision based on deep-rooted political or moral beliefs. Before he made his last statement that he did not want to defect, the psychiatrist said Medved had apparently been threatened by Soviet officials as to the safety of his parents and promised rewards if he played the game right, and had also been given major tranquilizing drugs. But, concluded the psychiatrist, when it came right down to it, Medved was clearly competent to make a decision in regards to defection, to the extent, said the psychiatrist, that any Soviet citizen in his position could be. So tonight, the president's official position can continue to be the Medved case is closed as far as he's concerned, but the executive branch will enforce a Senate subpoena. And if there is a negative fallout on the Geneva summit, it won't be Mr. Reagan's doing. It'll be the doing of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Sam Donaldson, ABC News, the White House.
Just one other note about Louisiana this evening. One of the aides to Senator Helms says now that the subpoena has been served to the captain, the ship is not going to be able to leave until the subpoena is answered. And according to at least the aide to Senator Helms, the ship is now going to leave the dock and go and sit in the middle of the river. Later in this broadcast, we continue our series of reports leading up to the Geneva summit. Tonight, Barry Serafin on the role of the First Ladies. American hostages in Lebanon appealing directly to President Reagan. And members of Congress fighting to keep their parking rights at Washington's National Airport.
This is World News Tonight with Peter Jennings, brought to you by Extra Strength Tylenol.
Laboratories like this help hospitals diagnose the cause of pain. To fight pain, hospitals have a wide choice of pain relievers. Which one do they use most? Tylenol. Look, last year hospitals dispensed 10 times as much Tylenol as the next 4 brands combined. Hospitals know that Tylenol gives effective relief without the stomach irritation possible with aspirin or any other type of pain reliever. If hospitals use Tylenol most, shouldn't you? Tylenol, the pain reliever hospitals use most.
Maureen Stapleton for Fiber One cereal.
Hello. I'd like to talk to you about your breakfast and your health and new Fiber One. By now you've heard how important fiber is in your diet. That's where Fiber One comes in. Because no brand cereal has more fiber than Fiber One, or less sugar. And a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer. Fiber One. You can't beat it for fiber. It's healthy, it's smart, it's the one for me.
There was a plea for help today from 4 of the Americans we know are being held hostage in Lebanon. They've been allowed to write letters, and the strongest appeal is for President Reagan to save their lives. The White House said in response today, this administration does not negotiate with terrorists. First, here's ABC's Charles Glass.
The Associated Press office in Beirut received a blue package of letters this afternoon thrown at the feet of a security guard by a young man who drove quickly away. One of the letters was an appeal to President Reagan and was signed by 4 of the 6 missing Americans: Father Lawrence Jenko, David Jacobson, Thomas Sutherland, and Terry Anderson. The AP office verified the signature of Anderson, who is the AP Beirut bureau chief. The letter to President Reagan said the captors were growing impatient and asked, quote, "How long do you suppose these people will wait?" The hostages asked President Reagan to negotiate, adding, quote, "There is no alternative. We have no chance of escaping, and our captors say if any attempt is made to rescue us, they and we will all die." The 4 said their living conditions were deteriorating: no fresh air, no sanitation, and no balanced diet. The captors told them they had murdered diplomat William Buckley, as they claimed they had when they released this photograph to Beirut newspapers last month. The message to the president concluded, "It is in your power to have us home for Christmas. Will you not have mercy on us and our families and do so?" All the letters were dated today. The others were addressed to family members, 2 U.S. congressmen, the media, and Britain's Archbishop of Canterbury. A letter to the AP said all the letters were written voluntarily and without coercion. The letter to the president did not mention the captors' demands, which are already known to be for the release of 17 men, 3 of them Lebanese, convicted of blowing up the U.S. Embassy in Kuwait in December 1983. The U.S. and Kuwait have already said that demand is not negotiable. Charles Glass, ABC News.
This is Jean Meserve at the State Department. Officials here said the letters and the pleas for negotiations which they contained did not change State Department policy.
The United States does not get involved in negotiations, but is ready, of course, to talk about the release of the hostages.
The fact that the letters came one day after phone calls saying the hostages had been killed made them that much sweeter for the hostage families.
Just seeing his handwriting. And knowing he's alive, you're happy and you're sad at the same time.
And it makes some hostage relatives angry.
It seems a very clear signal that the captors want it ended. And if the administration does not take advantage of this, I think it will be a brutal act.
The Associated Press, for whom hostage Terry Anderson works, sent a delegation to the State Department this afternoon to meet with high-level officials. They carried with them high-quality photographs of the letters and carried away the impression that the administration is making a genuine effort to see the hostages free.
I have a feeling that they are doing what they think they can productively do.
The State Department has been working on the assumption that all 6 American hostages are alive. One official here says the most important thing about these letters is that, if genuine, they confirm that at least 4 of them really are. Jean Meserve, ABC News, the State Department.
The Pentagon in Vietnam today announced that searchers will soon begin looking for bodies near the wreckage of an American B-52 bomber that crashed in North Vietnam during the Christmas bombing of 1972. The search will begin 10 days from now, and it will be the first time that Vietnam and the U.S. have searched together for missing American servicemen. Government officials in Colombia now say that about 100 people apparently died yesterday as the army recaptured the Palace of Justice from left-wing guerrillas who had taken it over. Much of the palace was destroyed, and many of Colombia's M-19 guerrillas reportedly died in the fighting. But so did several Supreme Court justices and many civilians. 18,000 judicial workers are going on strike to protest the decision to storm the building. In a moment, as we continue our strategic guide to the Geneva Summit, Barry Serafin on the First Lady's role.
no better wines than Gallo wines today. Today's Gallo, all the best a wine can be.
Which cereal has more vitamin nutrition than any other? Kellogg's Product 19 cereal. But you'd never guess.
Oh.
Because Product 19 vitamins are flaky, bumpy, crispy, crunchy, and taste so good. Product 19 goodness comes from corn, oats, wheat, and rice.
Delicious.
Kellogg's Product 19.
Flaky.
Bumpy.
Crispy. Crunchy.
Tasty vitamins.
One of President Reagan's advisors on arms control said today that he hopes the President and Mr. Gorbachev can agree on a set of guidelines for arms control when they meet in Geneva. Paul Nitze, a former arms control negotiator, said that while there's a large gap between Soviet and American arms control proposals, that perhaps the summit meeting would close the gap. The President said today he thought a little prayer would help. Mr. Reagan told a group of U.S. church officials to pray for Mr. Gorbachev, that God loves him too. Church officials were making the point that when Mr. Reagan gets to Geneva, the President does not want to have any confrontation. Well, if there is going to be a gentler edge to this summit in Geneva, it may well be provided by two very influential women. In other words, Mrs. Reagan and Mrs. Gorbachev. The two have already made their plans to get together in Geneva, and at the end of our first week of a strategic guide to the summit, ABC's Barry Serafin examines the role of the First Ladies.
When Nancy Reagan goes to Geneva, her duties will go beyond the ornamental role usually reserved for First Ladies. She has taken the unusual step of inviting Soviet First Lady Raisa Gorbachev to a meeting of their own over tea.
I think it was a very spontaneous idea on Nancy's part.
Mrs. Gorbachev has reciprocated with an invitation to a second meeting the next day. So while President Reagan is boning up for the summit, Mrs. Reagan is doing homework too, studying the woman she will meet. As for her counterpart,
I'm sure that Mrs. Gorbachev will be extensively briefed. I don't doubt that.
no one is suggesting that the meetings between the First Ladies will rival those of their husbands. No one expects the two wives to engage in substantive discussion of policy. But the Get Acquainted sessions will bring together two women who, like their husbands, understand the importance of public perceptions. Both seem comfortable in their role as hostesses to world leaders, sometimes the same leaders. Both are used to being scrutinized for their fashion consciousness, but neither has settled for strictly ceremonial tasks. Nancy Reagan has grown increasingly confident in her public role as a champion of causes such as drug abuse programs, and she won praise for the way she filled in for the president when he was sidelined by cancer surgery.
My husband is sorry he can't be with you, and I'm sort of a stand-in.
On one occasion last year, when the president was questioned about arms control efforts, she served not as a stand-in, but a prompter.
Doing everything we can.
Protective of her husband's interests and image, Mrs. Reagan is the president's closest confidant, and in some ways his most important advisor.
Nancy and Ronald Reagan are a team, and they have been for 30-some years. I think she has the greatest influence on the president. I don't think Nancy would get into sitting down with a score pad or checking off how many warheads we're going to have on missiles and that sort of thing. That's just not her cup of tea. I think she does feel strongly about being sure that the president is prepared and ready. She would come right at it, hard and tough, to if she thought someone was giving her husband bad advice.
No reporter has been covering the Reagans longer than Lou Cannon.
It's my view that Nancy Reagan really would like to see an agreement in principle, some movement toward arms control. She doesn't represent herself as a policy advisor. She isn't second-guessing McFarlane and Schultz, but she has a very keen sense of how her husband will be judged by history.
Raisa Gorbachev will bring her own sense of history to the summit. She holds a PhD in philosophy and teaches Marxist-Leninist theory at Moscow State University. Although her visibility at home does not match that of Nancy Reagan, she is seen at times at public events and on Soviet television. Wives of previous Soviet leaders, such as Nikita Khrushchev, were only rarely glimpsed.
Raisa Gorbacheva is a very different type from the Nina Khrushcheva, a lady from the farm she's not. She carries herself with extraordinary poise, and the fact that she is visible at all in the Soviet media is in itself a very great departure from past form.
But it has been on trips abroad that Mrs. Gorbachev has created the biggest stir. The sight of a stylish Soviet First Lady prompted rave headlines in Paris and London. At one museum stop, Mrs. Gorbachev skillfully turned a tribute to Picasso into a call for peace.
He wanted all people to be friends and that there always be peace on earth.
First-hand observers have been impressed by her contribution to what has been called the Soviets' charm offensive.
Soviet decided, I think, to sell Mrs. Gorbachev like commercial products. They have taken lessons of political marketing.
And those who have spent time with her think Mrs. Gorbachev's opinions carry weight with her husband, too.
I think she's a very shrewd observer, very professional, and I think he would be very interested in her estimates of the types of people President and Mrs. Reagan are, and some of the aides and things like that.
So while the First Ladies will not be center stage in Geneva, they will not be minor players either. Their meetings, their presence there, could provide at least some opportunity for increased understanding. Barry Serafin, ABC News, Washington.
Our series on the summit will continue throughout next week. On Monday, Ted Koppel will report on the relative military strengths of the U.S. and the USSR. Something new at the Playboy Club. But will a rabbit help? When we return.
Good morning. Aetna Life and Casualty knows that all employees are not all alike. That's why we pioneered flexible benefit plans for our clients. So, instead of carbon copy life insurance, he can double his coverage at the group rate. Instead of Me Too Medical, she can raise her deductible and put the difference in dental. Instead of duplicating the husband's coverage, she can shift premiums into tax-deferred savings. Aetna, helping business respond to the changing pace of America.
Aetna, we're glad we met you.
I've got a headache this big, and it's got Excedrin written all over it. It's ridiculous. I've got a headache this big, and it's got Excedrin written all over it.
Excedrin, the big headache medicine. More medicine than any regular strength pain reliever. The most medicine you can buy without a prescription. Nothing is stronger.
I had a headache this big, but I took Excedrin, and it's gone.
Excedrin, from Bristol Myers. Excedrin, the headache medicine. In a recent independent test, new car shoppers compared Renault Alliance to Toyota Corolla. In riding comfort, Renault won. Driving ease, Renault won. In styling, comfort, and convenience, Renault won. In fact, Renault won over Toyota in 29 out of 30 categories. Renault Alliance, with 550 Plus, America's best small car protection. Get 8.8% factory financing on any 86 Alliance or Encore.
Time to make the donuts. Owning a Dunkin' Donuts is no piece of cake. Time to make the donuts. Because you work night and day making donuts. That's why they're so fresh all the time. The donuts. And come in up to 52 varieties. More than any supermarket. At Dunkin' Donuts, it's always time to make the donuts.
In tonight's Money Matters, it has been a record-breaking week on Wall Street. The Dow Jones Industrials finished on record high ground today, up nearly 5 points and back over the 1,400 level. For the week, stocks gained more than 14 points. And while we're on matters of money, what is happening in the Playboy empire? In the last 3 months, Playboy Enterprises has posted losses of nearly $2 million. It is the latest in a string of losses that has now led Playboy to a change in its traditional image. Here in New York this week, an addition to the Playboy Club that would never have been imagined 20 years ago. ABC's Judd Rose on what it is.
In New York, they're giving a fresh new look to an old American symbol. No, not that one. This one.
You figure we're the male counterpart of an institution, the Playboy Bunny. And we really, I feel we represent men everywhere.
What the rabbits really represent is a noteworthy change for a chain of clubs once trendy, now often just tacky. Playboy hopes if men watch the bunnies table hop, women will watch rabbits do the same. But some think it doesn't matter. They say this is an idea whose time has come and gone.
I mean, the idea of a Playboy, it just is sort of almost humorous in 1985. I mean, whatever was racy and sophisticated about that name in 1955, it's a little different right now.
That it is. Playboy now competes with hardcore magazines and movies and tapes, but has this brave new world that Playboy helped introduce now left it far behind? Hugh Hefner says no.
Playboy remains the largest selling men's magazine of all time in the world, with a larger circulation combined that is bigger than both Penthouse and Esquire together.
That's true, but readership has slumped dramatically since the early 70s, and Playboy is soundly beaten by its raunchier rival Penthouse in critical newsstand sales. Playboy clubs continue to lose money. Playboy cable TV has the highest monthly disconnect rate in the industry. And overall, the corporation has lost money in all but one of the last 4 years. It's ironic that even though Playboy is far less scandalous now, it's no less vulnerable to charges it exploits women. This fall, the magazine introduced a so-called new look and promised to focus more on positive female images. A recent issue featured women with high IQs and no clothes. Nevertheless, charges Playboy exploits its models or its bunnies fall on deaf ears.
What's the unemployment rate in this country? You're telling me that people who are making good living, having a good time, are being exploited? That ain't my definition.
So there are now rabbits in the bunny hutch, like it or not.
It is, I suppose, an infinitesimal step forward, but surely in the 80s we could do better than that.
And Playboy may have to. After 32 years, times and attitudes have changed, and it may take more than rabbits to keep Playboy from becoming an endangered species. Judd Rose, ABC News, New York.
In the mid-Atlantic states tonight, the water is beginning to recede. And as it goes, the full extent of damage is even clearer. More than 40 people have died as a result of the floods. Thousands are homeless. The hardest hit state was West Virginia, where 8 counties have been declared disaster areas. Emergency supplies are finally arriving in places like Parsons, West Virginia, where health officials began giving tetanus shots today. The National Guardsmen are still directing traffic in what is left of the town's business district. It has been a decade now since Bob Dylan's song, The Ballad of Hurricane, helped to focus attention on the story of Reuben Hurricane Carter. Carter was a boxer who was convicted of a 1966 triple murder in New Jersey. Carter has always maintained that he was framed, and today he was released from prison. A federal judge said that Carter's conviction was based on racial stereotypes and prosecution errors. Prosecutors say they will appeal, but for now at least, Hurricane Carter is free. When we come back, official Washington, just not enough space for everyone.
The incredible shrinking kitchen isn't quite as big as it used to be, is it? Each day it seems like you've got less and less usable space. That's why you need the new Mr. Coffee UTC. UTC for under the cabinet. It makes 10 full cups of coffee brewed the way only Mr. Coffee can brew it. And it looks great too, so the UTC is at home in any space. Get the new Mr. Coffee UTC, because your kitchen isn't getting any bigger, is it?
Now, a new definition of quality and performance. The new Norelco electronic Rotatrack with the fastest, longest-lasting charge of any leading razor. Inside 3 floating heads is a patented lift and cut shaving system, guaranteed to shave you fast, clean, razor blade close, without a nick or cut or your money back. And a gift she'll love, the new Lady Shave Rechargeable.
Norelco, we put quality first.
Tales of heartburn from Gaviscon antacid. Once a man ate all of Italy
Pasta with tomato sauce and garlic.
in one night
And the garlic.
and discovered the only thing worse than daytime heartburn
Heartburn.
is nighttime heartburn. Fortunately, there was Gaviscon, specially formulated so it not only gives fast relief during the day, it even works at night when you're lying down. Gaviscon antacid, it even works lying down.
Tonight on Nightline with Ted Koppel. 2 views of the World Chess Championship. One from a chess master, one from a thrill-happy sports fan. And Sunday on This Week with David Brinkley, the Geneva Summit with Arms Control Advisor Paul Nitze. Koppel tonight, Brinkley Sunday.
Finally here this evening, one of the bloodier political battles in Washington. The budget battle doesn't compare. The battle for tickets to an event with the Prince and Princess of Wales may come close, but the one we're referring to is a real humdinger. The Supreme Court is involved, the Congress, the diplomatic community. Would you believe it's all about parking spaces? Here's ABC's Britt Hume.
National Airport. It is noisy, crowded, and dangerous. But for members of Congress who have a special close-in parking lot reserved for them and for Supreme Court justices and diplomats, the airport is something else as well, convenient. A lot of people who live around here, though, don't like the airport, and they don't like that free congressional parking lot right next to the terminal either.
Well, I think it's the only thing that keeps the airport open.
Well, I think it's a scam.
Why should they park there and we have to park way down there? Everybody's human.
Members of Congress, though, are eager to preserve the airport and their parking lot, though they're not always eager to talk about it.
I really am rushing to catch a plane. That's one reason to have the lot.
I kind of think you guys need a better story, don't you?
I just want to see it run the way it's has been run as absolutely necessary in order to do your job.
Now, though, some members, led by Crane of Illinois, want to expand the parking privilege by kicking the justices and the diplomats out.
You've got to be two places at the same time, back home and here. And as a result, you're hanging on to make that last vote. You race out to that airport and get out there and find a sea of diplomatic plates and that lot closed off.
In fact, members of Congress can park free anywhere in the airport, so the idea of making their lot even more exclusive isn't very popular.
Oh, that seems a little selfish. I think they ought to fight for parking just like anybody else.
But members of Congress, like Alabama Senator Heflin here, often do rush to the airport to find the lot closed. And what about those diplomatic plates? Do they belong to ambassadors or just embassy staff? Are you the ambassador? Are you the ambassador?
No, I'm not.
You're not? Others caught using the lot give explanations that can be quite imaginative. You a member of Congress?
No, the car is.
The car's a member of Congress?
Yes.
How can a car be a member of Congress?
What do you mean, how can a car?
Well, I mean...
That's who it belongs to.
Whose? Which member? The FAA has decided against Congressman Crane's request, which was signed by 37 other members. But some travelers seem to have a hunch on whether the congressman will eventually get their way.
They run the system, don't they?
Britt Hume, ABC News at National Airport.
That's our report on World News Tonight. I'm Peter Jennings. Have a good weekend and good night.
Later tonight on Nightline with Ted Koppel, two views of the World Chess Championship, one from a chess master and one from a thrill-happy sports fan. Tonight. From ABC, this has been World News Tonight with Peter Jennings.
Our family honor moves to its new night.
Everybody, on the ground!
Friday at 10, 9 Central. And when a daughter is taken captive.
No, it's a sad thing when your family's in danger.
Frank fights to protect.
Where they holding a hostage?
Our family honor.
Tonight.
Different. Some stores treat layaway like a game.
Mart is a really bad system.
I'd say they're not noted for their layaways, that's for sure.
Hills is different.
Hills layaway works better than any other store.
It's one more way to show we appreciate your business. Layaway any item, anytime at Hills.
We're a different kind of department store. Quality shopping, Hills. Check us out.
I used to be a lousy cook until I got a hold of Heinz 57 sauce. It's more than a great steak sauce. On the back of these bottles is my entire recipe collection. Great American meatloaf, sweet and sour pork chops. This is